Forster. We were talking just a little bit about the Mokwise. That's number 10 on tomorrow's agenda.
Right.
And did we want to cover anything more?
Just one more thing. It looks like they're studying, or they have allowed. There were a lot of projects that they considered. Looks like they've narrowed it down to about 20. I am going to question this because I thought this was one that was taken out, the reintroduction of fall run Chinook salmon upstream of Party Reservoir. I'm not an advocate of that program, and I strongly oppose it because what I've seen in areas is where they try to reintroduce fish. The next step is they try to take dams out. And those dams on the McCalmy River provide the water not only for us but for East Bay mud, but it's critical for Amador County that we have that's where our water supply comes from. Without those dams, we're shot. And it's just a natural for the environmental community. They want to take the dams out. They want to take everything back to the natural look of what it was 100 years ago. It's just not feasible to me to do that in this day and age because we have population concerns.
Right. Also, it would seem that with the drought and things like that, we know that we need to have probably more water on hand. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. Well, let's move on then to number 11.
Well, number 11, we go on to another nuttier scheme put together by two legislators in Sacramento, which is not unheard of for the state of California, but this is Senate Bill 350. It's called the Clean Energy and Pollution Reduction Act of 2015. Basically, they're setting arbitrary levels again of what they think we can do by 2030, by 2040, by 2050. And they want us to, it involves energy consumption, amount of cars, electric cars to be used on the roads, facilities, planning. You know what you're talking about is huge amounts of money that they want to put into this. They want to change people's lives. You know what? I don't mind changing things if they make sense, but leave it up to me to change my life. I don't want bureaucrats telling me how I'm going to change my life by them putting rules on it.
I'm almost chomping at the bit. In fact, I am to say something. I heard just the other day that, Los Angeles has not had a smog alert in 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is just... Now,
20 years. So I guess they've done something pretty good.
Yeah, we have 20-plus pages here. But this is something people need to read because just one part on page 3 here, the act known as the Clean Energy and Pollution Reduction Act, the legislature finds, if this is passed, and there is a chance the governor will sign this, but the goals are the objectives consistent with the increase from 33 to 50% the procurement of our electricity from renewable sources. So they're going to make companies who deal in providing electricity, they're going to make them purchase the renewable energy from these companies that go out and put up the big solar fans and do different solar panels and things like that. Somebody's getting rich off this, and I guarantee you a big part of this is probably the legislators too. But the others are to increase today's petroleum use in cars and reduce the petroleum use in cars and trucks by 50%, to double the efficiency of existing buildings. And the intent of the legislature is a lot more than that. If I could go on and on.
It sounds like it has something to do as well in part of the agenda called the new degrowth agenda, right, to say that we are way overdeveloped. Mm-hmm. And need to go backwards.
Well, and this all has to do with
everybody's lifestyle.
This all has to do with the concept of global warming, which one of the preeminent scientists who was out front on global warming at the beginning saying, yeah, global warming, we need to stop it. He has reversed now after he has dug his brain into the research and really looked at what's being misrepresented out there. So I'm not going to go into that any further, but people need to really
a lot of money to be made a
lot of money
in this, and a lot of money to be lost by individuals that have to pay higher rates for electricity and gasoline and pay more for less.
Right. Mr. Tesla, who's making the Tesla car, is also into a lot of other renewable technologies. And you know what? Who's paying for all that? The government is paying for it because he gets incentivized to do all that. He's not paying for it all by himself. Okay. He's paying that for a big portion of that with low interest or non-interest loans, grants, funding from us, the taxpayers.
Right. And I think you probably mean Tesla company. I think Mr. Tesla is passed away.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Tesla
All right.
company, you're right.
Okay. And
we have a couple more.
Let's go on, Richard.
We have a couple more things. Community Development Block Grant. This has to do with our last Community Development Block Grant that was authorized and awarded to the Amador Water Agency, and that was for an upcountry project. They were delayed getting that project implemented. The side effect of them being delayed is that by the rules, the recent changes in the rules, if jurisdictions have not expended over 50% of their granted funds, then that reduces what they can apply for next time. So instead, we are not eligible now to apply for any projects in this next round, except for planning grants, which come in at about $100,000. That's okay, but we do want our grant recipients to be aware of that they need to move forward. Now, in this case, the Water Agency had to complete both environmental review and construction. We know environmental review doesn't always go as planned, and it takes some time to finish that. So the other thing we could apply for is $3 million for a large business assistance project grant, over the counter. Now, we have done some research on that because I had a perfect business I thought would fit there, Vicini Brothers. What they're saying, though, this is designed basically, it looks like, for urban or inner city type of large businesses that have a large employment base. Because what they require is for every $35,000 you get grant funded, you need to have somebody hired. That's not going to work at Vicini Brothers. It's a small operation run by 2 or 3 people. So again, our size limits our ability.
Is that Vicini Brothers at the construction company? There's so many Vicinis.
No, I think they're talking more about something like a startup business that does manufacturing, probably in an urbanized area.
Okay.
And in that way, they can go out and get this loan. It's easy for them. If you're a manufacturing type company, it's easy to employ large numbers of people. So for every $35,000, you have to employ 1 person. Not going to work here for Vicini Brothers. And by the way, it was not a grant. The first portion, I think, planning might have been a grant, but as you got into the bigger scale of the $3 million, it was a loan that was repayable.
Okay.
So it makes it a lot tougher for some businesses when you're looking at, okay, let's get a shot in the arm up. We have to repay that. We have to be accountable. So and I know Vicini Brothers is a well-run business, but it's a startup too. They're not making millions of dollars. So they've somewhat tied the hands of rural, possibly even suburban businesses to apply for a loan or a grant like that. I want to call it a grant/loan.
Okay.
Last thing up is our budget, and this is our final budget that we have to adopt per the County Budget Act. So in this, there are going to be some minor changes. There's one-time monies that were approved by the Board of Supervisors that will go forward as planned. Those one-time monies are for things like increasing our contingency from $500,000 to $1 million, restoration of the current year's uses, outside legal counsel, an increase there of $100,000, pavement management program of $200,000, and then a couple of other things, the megabyte server and Pioneer Park doors. Those are minor items in the big scheme. The big thing there is restoration of our contingency up to $1 million. And then for fiscal, that was for fiscal years 14-15. For fiscal years 15-16, we have an increase of a little over $100,000 to outside legal counsel. Our pavement management program, again, $178,000. But for road paving and repairs, we put an additional $500,000 into that program. We have library repairs amounting to $400,000. That's basically for ADA at the Jackson Library. The DA's office needs a new HVAC system. They need exterior repairs to their building. Probation office needs some minor repairs. Our OPEB or other post-employment employee benefits, unfunded liability contribution of $300,000 there. And then the airport land use compatibility plan of $53,000. And I knew I was missing something. There was $400,000 for the New York Ranch Ridge Road intersection. They were $400,000 short because of a retaining wall that needed to be constructed that was not included in the budget there. We don't want to lose the millions of dollars of highway safety money that's already been awarded to us, so we are going to bite the bullet and put that together. Okay. The other things, the certified property tax rolls came in at 3.47%. We had only budgeted 2%, so taxes are showing up stronger than anticipated. That yielded the county an additional $80,000, and the amount of tax loss reserve fund required to balance the budget then was reduced.
30 seconds.
Okay. Lastly, we have our DA's office. They brought in more money from the state than was anticipated for the cases they do at Mule Creek State Prison, and that'll help offset some of the costs that went into hiring a new employee for them, a new investigator, and for paying for a car. And I want to give credit to our county auditor, who's also making some good changes in her department. And really, all of our electeds, our recorder's office is digitizing their programs, and it's saving money for the taxpayers is what it's doing.
Okay, well, that's good. Thank you very much, Rich, for coming in, and thanks for staying with us here on TSPN.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.